Mental Health Chat Group Huddle, and thank you for submitting your questions this week in preparation for this. We're looking forward to it, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so grab a coffee if you don't have one. I've got mine in my special S mug. And hopefully the sound's okay in here. I did actually notice from our podcast last week that it's really echo in here, and we need to go back to the little room to do it.
Yeah.
So we've moved my desk downstairs just because it's a bit easier. So it might be a bit echoey. Apologise for that. So we've, like I said, thank you for your questions so far. What we want to get out of the way before we even start is that we're in no way positioning ourselves as experts to handle what's going on.
Absolutely not.
Because if that were the case, then we're really bad at it. We were talking on and you guys, by the way, just pitch in with any questions or comments or anything that you want to chat about on here, and we'll discuss them and we can chat about them as well. We'll try and set something up on Zoom as well so we can see you guys and have like a virtual coffee shop
really nice.
Next week. But yeah, just feel free, jump in whenever. This is all about giving us some social interaction apart from each other for some things and our dogs more than anything. But no, we were talking about this on a walk yesterday. We are in no way experts on this stuff, and I don't think anyone at the moment can position themselves as an expert on this stuff because this is a totally unprecedented situation and no one knows how to handle it properly. What we can do is share our experiences and what we want to do. This is for our benefit as much as yours, and just basically connect runners who are our main community and triathletes, but also just connect people and just let them know, you're not alone. And there's lots of platforms like this where we can continue to connect with each other. So I thought I'd start off by sharing sort of like what my experience of this thing, and just jump in if you guys feel like it's the same way. For me, I think what I'm struggling to get used to is the up and down of mood.
And the thing is, sometimes you have good and bad days, but what we're finding is that actually there's good and bad hours or minutes.
Yeah,
you can be fine 1 minute and then just absolutely ratty the next.
Yeah, so like I saw something on Twitter the other day where it's like a chart of your mood throughout the day, and like you get up.
Such a good idea.
Yeah, you get up and it's like low, like I watch the news, oh shit, and then it dips, and then you try and get some work done, and then you feel a little bit productive, and then it dips again, and then you're really productive, and then you have why am I even doing this? Like, what's even going to happen? And then you watch the news again, and it dips again, and then you have a few alcoholic drinks to get yourself off to sleep, and then you go to sleep at like a ridiculous hour, which is never me, by the way. Like I have to sleep. If anything, I'm sleeping more. I'm like a sloth.
I think
right
actually,
now.
If you looked at your Fitbit for your sleep tracker, it's been like 9-10 hours, like every day for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, this is quite a lot to digest. So that's my experience of it. Like I'm struggling to keep up with my mood. Like some days I seem okay, but then most days, to be honest, I'm like completely forget about it for half an hour, and then I'll be totally down about it for like 2 or 3. What about you?
Yeah. So I have not got quite as good a understanding, I don't think, of when my mood is up and down until I do something or say something, and then I'll get a reaction, from perhaps you, or
It is me. There's no one else she's coming into contact with. So it is me saying, what the fuck's your problem?
Basically, yeah. And then sometimes I'm not really realizing that my mood is down until, I get the opportunity to, interact with somebody, whether that's you or whether that's on the classes or whether it's with my online patients. And then, I realize that I kick up a gear into this great mood again. And I hadn't realized where my mood was sitting before. So yeah, there's definitely other influences that are letting me know where my mood is, because I'm not always aware.
No. And it's I think one of the things, and we spoke about this in the Running and Mental Health podcast, one of the tools that I have in my toolkit from having mental health problems from the age of like 15 is that I can recognize straight away if I'm down. And if you suffer with mental health as well, or have I'm coming on to 18 years now, we're actually, I think, better equipped than most people to deal with a situation like that, because we know when we're getting anxious, we know when we're getting to a point where we're not coping very well. Whereas people who maybe don't, I truly think that everyone struggles with mental health stuff at some points. I think they're a bit more at sea for what's going on and that sort of thing. So
Yeah,
have you
think
shared
about
this
it
on
that
all our
way.
channels, by the way, or the live video? Have you shared it? Of course.
No, but I can be doing that now while you're having a chat if you like.
So yeah, I think if you haven't struggled with mental health before, one thing that I say that, you know, we're not positioning ourselves as people who really like have it all figured out, but there are some things that I really find that are pretty much non-negotiable at the moment. So for me, and let me know if you disagree with this, don't check the news more than once or twice a day. There is the BBC News app, and at the top of that app daily is the briefing, and at the moment it's usually the daily briefing. At the moment it's the briefing for the coronavirus, so everything that's come out of the government, all the breaking news stories. Like, for example, today it was the Chancellor of the Exchequer in the UK is going to announce the self-employed help for the self-employed.
We're desperately waiting for that.
As one source of anxiety for the past few weeks, but you know, Prince Charles has tested positive for the coronavirus, and it just has bullet points, and you can click on for more information if you want to. But like, this is what you need to know in like 5 minutes. That I check that in the morning, I check that in the evening, and I don't check it Twitter, really Facebook, no scrolling, anything like that, because at the moment, things are developing all the time, and there are statistics that people are throwing around on social media, and we spoke about this in the podcast and elsewhere, that are just creating a massive feedback input that, number one, you cannot do anything about. Can you do anything about the worrying statistics that, you know, well, in Wuhan in China, it was at this point, and in the UK at the moment, we're at this point, so in 2 weeks, we're going to be at this point. That is a whole lot of wondering and worrying about something you essentially can't control. Like, it's outside of your locus of control. So I think to stay healthy, stay off the news, unless it's your job and you're like a broadcaster or something. Yeah. I would say that's like the best thing to do. The other thing is to get enough sleep, because as we said in the podcast, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, it can really affect just how you manage your day to day and how you respond to things, your mood. If you're finding you're arguing with your spouse more, you're feeling heightened levels of anxiety, you've lost your appetite, you've got an appetite that just seems out of control at the moment, that can be directly affected by your sleep, because of the hormones that are released when you don't get enough sleep, and just the fact that everyone is not themselves when they're sleep deprived. So I would say that. So don't check the news more than once or twice a day. Get enough sleep. And the exercise that we've been given at the moment, which some people are saying it's limited to an hour. I'm not sure. Jump in if you have that, like a source for that. I'm not sure it is. It's just once a day, isn't it?
That's what we've been working on at the moment. But yeah, we have seen a few people suggesting that it's supposed to be just an hour. So
don't know. To be perfectly honest, not sure. We're keeping it to about an hour and a half on a deserted trail with our dogs. So yeah, and that's what, in terms of base level advice, to me, that's things that I naturally am doing to protect myself at the moment from things getting out of control. If you're drinking every night and that affects your sleep negatively too, like as we spoke about on the podcast, and if you're checking the news frantically, if you're letting, they spoke about this on a podcast I was listening to recently. So you can prevent someone from sneezing on you by keeping a 2 meter distance, and you can wash your hands. You can't stop a social media sneeze. So the social hysteria at the moment that's around, people can sneeze on you in that way, like literally sneeze anxiety on you, this guy said, from anywhere in the world. But you can control whether you engage with that or not. So Anxiety UK reported this morning that they've had, I think, 200,000 calls in the past 2 weeks.
They've had to extend their opening times, so that they can
deal with the
increased amount of calls.
So yeah. Anything from you?
So I mean, there were a few things that I wanted to be able to discuss with everybody today, and you brought it up quite early on. It's just communicating with the people in your household and working out where each other's triggers are for anxiety, what makes them stressed. I don't know if you've heard that saying, the straw that breaks the camel's back. So there's little things that you might do that might just set each other off, and you think, well, that was so insignificant, and there was, why are you snapping at me for that?
Yeah.
But actually, there's a whole ton of build-up that, whether they're conscious or not conscious of, it's worth just having those discussions about the things that tend to irritate. There are things from my childhood that really grate on me that thankfully you don't do. But even thinking about them get me anxious. Like
Spoiler, she hates it when people chew yogurt.
That's exactly what I was about to say. And me and my sister, when we were younger, we used to sit on the sofa and she'd have like a plain vanilla yogurt and she'd chew it. It just drove me insane. So little things like that you can communicate with your spouse, your family, whoever you're living with at the moment, would be a really, really good idea to just get out in the open so that you can try and avoid those things for the sanity of you and your household.
Yeah, and like we've got our own stuff too, and the biggest questions that we've got in preparation for this bitch, basically, like to have a good bitch, is that I'm living with my spouse or I'm living with my housemate or a sibling, and it is driving me crazy. Basically, I don't usually spend this much time with them. In some cases, people are working from home and they've taken over or have had to take over an area of the house, like the kitchen table, just because there's not enough space and you don't have an office. How do I manage this without wringing the person's neck, without, really it turning into a negative in our relationship, whether they are your spouse, your family, or
roommate,
or your roommate. Let's talk about that for a minute. And we have spoken about our own experience. Like Laura and I both have, we do spend a lot of time together, but this is a crazy amount of time that we're spending together at the moment, and we are having to adjust some stuff to give each other some room. We are, as I say, like probably closer than most couples in that obviously we run a business together and we live together. But Laura is not having, 90%. It's a 90% decrease in her contact with other people, so she's suffering a lot because of like the social side of things. Whereas this is a lot more my sort of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been deprived of a lot of the time that I get by myself, which as an introvert I really value. So we're both struggling with that, and also with the dips in mood and things like that. We've got the unaccustomed rage that it pops out every now and again. For me anyway, like I am an introverted person. I'm pretty high maintenance, to be honest. Like I need a lot of space and that sort of thing. And at the moment I feel like I'm being deprived of that space and that sort of thing. So prone to fits of rage. Laura's response to that is to shut up and not saying anything. So someone who rages very loudly and that sort of thing, Laura's response is to draw into herself. That can be a very frustrating situation. So, which like as I say, we're managing, but we've done a lot of work to sort of pick around. So, our advice on this, based on our research, and again, not positioning ourselves as experts, but as a mate, saying to you, is that we. What are you waving at?
I'm waving at Cece. She's just come on.
Oh, lovely. If it's your spouse, we did a test called the 5 Love Languages, which is the lamest name ever. But it is a really good. Yeah, it sounds really, really cheesy, but it's basically based on the notion that different people work off of different ways, like of expressing love and caring and that sort of thing. And it might be that it works with someone who you're close to, like your housemate or something like that as well, because it's not, strictly for a romantic relationship. So the 5 love languages, and people have like a primary one that they operate of and that works for them. And once you know the other person's love language, which I'll explain in a minute, you can basically handle them better. I think that's the way.
Yeah.
And you take this online test that's super quick, and then you find out your love language, and then the other person does. And then once you know that about someone,
you can respect it, and you can,
you can work with it, basically. So the first one is words of affirmation. So some people really need to know that they're doing a good job or that everything's okay. That's Laura. So they need that sort of
positive reinforcement.
It's never enough that it's implied for them. They need an expression of gratitude or an expression that everything's going to be okay and that sort of thing. Basically, affirmation. The second one is acts of service. So people with whose primary one is this, they like it when people do stuff for them. So
I already pointed at you.
Yeah, that's me. So, and this isn't like rolling out the red carpet and that sort of thing. They like it with physical demonstrations.
This is if she's stressed and I offer to cook dinner, which I'm really terrible at.
But it means a lot to me.
But it does mean a lot. Or
that Laura offers.
Doing the washing, or just doing something
it's
that
not,
helps take a load off.
And the key thing is that it's not a paid thing. I don't respond to paid gifts or extravagant gifts or anything. I like
Oh,
them.
like the gadgets and bits.
Yeah, I don't, but I don't respond to that, and they don't really make me feel any better when I need comfort or that sort of thing. It's acts of service, like, can I do this for you? Laura, because she's a physio, the one she always defaults to is rubbing my feet. That might be too much information. I love having my feet rubbed, and
there's nothing that relaxes you more.
Yeah, so that's a lot. So we know that. So Laura knows that when I'm really stressed or when I'm really anxious, especially in a time like this, if she rubs my feet, I feel like I'm being seen, and I get a foot rub, which is awesome. And with Laura, I know that when she's stressed, that she needs someone to go, it's okay, you're doing a good job, and we're going to get through this, and that sort of thing. Because we know that about each other, that helps things a lot.
It really does.
I would say. The third one is receiving gifts. So some people, and this isn't a materialistic thing, they like gifts and shows of affection, like physical gifts, and that doesn't necessarily mean like expensive gifts.
No, it doesn't. It means that somebody's gone out and taken time to think about them. And even
thoughtfulness.
If it's, exactly. Even if that's like, buying you your favorite chocolate bar.
Or picked flowers or
something like that.
Chocolate I also enjoy. The fourth one is quality time. So a lot of people, and I would say actually I could be way off here, and correct me if I'm wrong, one, but my parents work like this. They really protect their time, quality time together, and that's not just, you want to be mindful that you're spending a lot of time together probably right now.
But is it quality?
Quality time? Is it time where you're connecting emotionally, where you're showing care and expressing affection, having dinner,
giving yourself the time to actually have a conversation?
Yeah,
like we've been having like a walk every day, haven't we?
That's one of ours as well. That's because you have ones that are individual ones, and then you have ones that you share. And the other one is physical touch, which I think every romantic relationship needy. No, I'm just joking. So every romantic relationship has this to begin with, but I know a lot of people, a lot of extroverts out there right now, not necessarily in a romantic way, really struggling because they're huggers, and you can't do that at the moment.
Very tactile.
Some people are very tactile, very physical touch people, and I'm like this as well. My mum would say I've always been a very tactile, like hugging child. Like, see pictures of me when I'm a toddler or a baby with my mum, I'm like sort of hanging off her like a monkey. But some people, this is their primary thing, and they really need it. So
that's true.
They're the 5 ones. Look it up, 5 love languages. Take the test, and like I say, it's love languages. It's not necessarily romantic love. It's about what people. It's basically how to show people that you care.
Yeah,
isn't it? Once you know that about the people that you live with, and this could be for your children, as I say, for your spouse, for your housemates, best friend, whoever it is that you live with, it can be. We find that it can be easier.
Yeah. Much easier
when you know that. If I didn't know that Laura needed me to verbally say it was going to be okay,
and to have that tactile, they're my 2 things.
Then it would be, I think we'd find it a lot harder.
Well, if you were doing everything that you find useful for you, that wouldn't give me what I need. So like if you were doing lots of housework and stuff, which obviously I very much appreciate, that doesn't give me the same response as if you were giving me those affirmations and having a cuddle.
The other thing is, if you're finding that there's a lot of butting heads, and this could be like between your children, between you and your children, between you and your spouse, between you and your housemate, like I can kind of tell they're getting really pissed off with me, and maybe you haven't had an argument yet. There's a book called Crucial Conversations that most coaches, if you're out there, should read, and it's it's about basically they use a state model. So it's called Crucial Conversations because, hate to break it to you, especially if you're a avoidant person, if you find that things are getting pretty tense at home, you're gonna have to say something.
There's no escape
because there's literally no escape. Because at the moment it's like we're looking at
freedom's restricted.
This is a marathon, not a sprint. You're not going anywhere for significant periods of time, so we would say definitely engage with that person in a conversation. And these guys use what's called the state model. So what you do is the S is you share your facts, and that's not in an attacking way, but you say, I noticed that we've had some tension. From my point of view, it's because of this. And then you tell your story, that's the T. And then you ask for the other person's view of things, which is really important, rather than just saying, this is how it is because this is how I see it. You talk tentatively, so try and engage in conversation, and then you encourage testing. So you say, okay, so I've stated my facts, you've stated your facts. We've talked a little bit about it, not too much. How about we try this going forward and see how it works? That's the best. And we find it's a coaching client model. So we use this like with difficult conversations with clients and peers and that sort of thing. But it actually is quite effective at sort of slowing down a situation and trying to avoid conflict, because at the moment anxiety is high enough and depression rates are going to go up. There's no two ways about that. You love this person at the end of the day, or you care about them, you tolerate them in some way if you live with them. So it's probably best to keep things as sort of nice as possible, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We'll upload the link for the love languages.
I feel like Oprah. Or I was going to say Jeremy Kyle, but no.
No, let's not go there.
God, I hate that dude. I probably shouldn't say that. It's not business.
I don't think that's a negative thing to say. I don't think there's going to be any negative repercussions that come from saying you don't like Jeremy Kyle.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The other thing, I think we'll go like onto more running related things. I think a lot of people, runners or otherwise, are struggling with the movement restriction at the moment. And about there's probably, if you're a runner, you're probably sick at the moment of articles about, you know, what to do when your race is cancelled and staying on track with your exercise, and things like that. Let us know your thoughts on this. Obviously, everyone's significant races, mine included, have been cancelled, and we're now limited to one exercise a day. I do know some runners in our community who run twice a day. So they just because they train twice a day because they're at that sort of level, that's what it takes, 100-mile weeks to compete at a high level. And this has gone all the way up to the best athletes in the world now, with the Olympics being cancelled.
Yeah.
Slash postponed, which a lot of people are just like, well, they've been postponed. For Olympic athletes, that is a huge thing to deal with, because their training cycles are in 4 years, because the Olympics, and rearranging macro cycles and mesocycles and that sort of thing to incorporate another year to peak for that year instead of this one, it wipes out at least a year of work, and makes it pretty much pointless. So that is something that it's a huge blow for them, definitely. And it really complicates things going forward. You know, if it happens next year, then it's only 3 years to the next Olympics and that sort of thing. There are worse things in the world, like obviously people are dying. There's a girl in the UK yesterday who's 21 years old, no underlying health conditions, and she died. But it's I think it helps. I don't think it's helpful to say I can't really grieve about that, about my race being cancelled, about my running being disrupted, about my training, when there's things like that going on, and having that comparison there.
But no matter what situation you're in, no matter what, whether it's to do with your health, whether it's to do with your work, there is always a way that you can find somebody that's probably, unfortunately, in a worse off situation than you, and that's always going to apply at some point in your life to everything. So you know, what we need to focus on right now is looking after ourselves and our loved ones as much as we can. And if everyone does the same, then hopefully we'll make a difference. But that kind of brings me into another message that I wanted to get across today as well. So we're trying to put a positive spin on that, but there is a lot of positivity trying to be spun in every which direction from every apparent channel. And it's okay to be a bit sick of that sometimes. So, you know, we've obviously been trying to portray some positivity, but also to say that it's okay to not be okay, and you're going to have some shit days, and that's all right too.
But beyond that, though, beyond shit days, beyond not reframing and being grateful and focusing on what we do have, beyond that, there is a lot of things going around that people are putting out there to try and help, like online home workouts. It's okay to say that doesn't fucking work for me. I had this conversation with a client yesterday, and he's a nutrition client, but he said to me, he was like, I don't like online training. I've been offered it. I've offered to, he's a great guy. So he was like, I've offered to support my PT through this period, but I don't want to work out in my living room with a camera on me and be coached online. I don't want it. I don't like the idea at all. It makes me feel really self-conscious and stuff like that. That's totally fine. You're not being ungrateful, and you're not, you know, trying to turn, you're not trying to, this constant positivity of now you can work out at home and you can do this, and it's not
for everybody.
It's not for everyone. It's fine. Live Q&As on Facebook and, you know, Zoom virtual coffee shops, they're great. And when I see stuff like that, I'm like, that's just an example of how our connected world has really come through for us when we thought it was letting us down in terms of making us too plugged in and things like that. But if that's not for you, it's no substitution for human connection. doing a home workout is, of course, no substitution for a gym. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with taking that moment to grieve and say, actually, I don't want to do all that. I don't want to turn these lemons into lemonade at this point. Let yourself be negative. You need to grieve this process, and you need to give yourself time to process, you know, the things that I like to do, I can't do at the moment. Don't wallow in it. I mean, if you're going to wallow in it for 12 weeks, then yeah, it's going to be a long 12 weeks. But I think there's been such a surge in some ways of positivity and options, and we're included in that, like giving out our daily Pilates class and stuff like this, the nutrition tips that I'm putting out there at the moment, the things that people are putting out there to be funny, that's great. But at the same time, it can be a bit too positive, like, especially when people are saying, this is an opportunity, this is this is that. It's just like, actually, no, it is, but it's also really difficult. It's also hanging on the edge of the news, waiting for what, you know, help's going to be for the self-employed, and whether I'm going to have to pay my mortgage this month and that sort of thing. So
it's been really interesting actually speaking to a lot of my patients online, and everyone seems to be going through this sort of cycle at different stages. So when the news first hit, you know, we went into overdrive, didn't we? Sort of, you know, trying to, you know, do everything that we could for work, you know, worrying about everything, but trying to be super productive, doing like 10, 12-hour days to try and get everything organized and sorted.
Yeah.
And that was fine, tiring, exhausting. But then it's like we completely didn't really acknowledge on a deeper level everything that was going on. So that first week was super productive, and then the second week's been like, oh, actually, we need to just take some time to process actually and understand what we're feeling about it. But other people have done that the other way around and had a week where they actually struggled a little bit and took time to sort of grieve for certain things and process. And now they're coming out the other side and, you know, starting to see things in a slightly different light and trying to, you know, be a bit more positive or proactive or whatever. So everyone's in different stages and different cycles at different times. And I think that's important to acknowledge as well.
There is, as we said at the start, nothing you can do about it. All of this is outside of our locus of control, but it's okay to be overwhelmed by it. And we reacted to it yesterday, and we've had a lot of help from some of our partners that we work with, like the National Running Show and things like that. But we did need to take a moment over the weekend at the start of this week to say, okay, we had a lot of opportunities and plans for the next 3 months, and they've pretty much gone up the spout. And we had to say, okay, that sucks, and let's see how we can move forward while also taking care of ourselves and that sort of thing. So that's what we'd encourage you guys to do. And let us know if this is helpful and stuff. I don't think that we've got anything else on our list, anything that people wanted us to go over.
Just scheduling activities, ideas for things to do. It's so, you know, we've obviously been doing lots of walks and trying to do some at-home workouts, seeing what works for us, just experimenting with lots of different activities, because some of the things that you think that you love, actually now that they're the only thing that you get to do, you might not love so much. So just taking the opportunity to try and experiment with lots of different activities, mastering a skill, or, you know, I've got a press to handstand program that I want to.
Can you do that here?
Yeah.
Can you? Yeah.
So mastering skills and stuff like that. But also the other thing is and tell me if this sounds too positive and against everything that we've just said, but learning to be grateful for stuff that you didn't know that you were before.
What are yours?
The dogs.
Oh yeah, so having dogs is amazing.
They're so happy all the time, and it's the simplest things.
There's a dog on the news that sprained its tail from wagging it too much because it was so happy its owners were home all the time.
But just some of the simple things that you can really learn to appreciate. So the dogs being so happy and smiley, and just the simplest things in life keep them happy. And you just think actually some of the things that I stress about usually day to day, maybe they don't matter quite as much as we think that they do. We had a question come in.
It's Daniel. I've had to rearrange my living room so I can work in there, and I've made more space, so I'm moving my bedroom around to have more space. I think household projects are a good thing as well. We've actually I'm starting to dig up our garden. I need the practice because I volunteered to work on the farms. But also our garden has been something that's just like it's going to take a massive amount of time for us to dig that up.
Well, we wouldn't have got around to it
No
in
way.
a regular situation.
We were waiting until we had a windfall where we could pay someone to do it because it's that much work, weren't we? We was just like, but other than that,
that's gone out the window.
That's gone out the window. So I've literally got a spade and I'm going to be turning the garden over and things like that. So having mini projects to keep you occupied.
It's a good time to redecorate the house.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So yeah, let us know what you guys thought of this. Like I say, we'll try and get it on Zoom and the virtual coffee shop and things like that. But what these are for basically is to provide a space for runners, triathletes, people in our community, or for anyone to just ask us, mental health chat, catch up, make sure that we stay connected. It's important that we do that now more than ever. So let us know if you like this in the comments. If you have any questions, any sort of suggestions,
put them together for the next one.
Yeah, definitely. And if you have any, as you guys have probably seen, we're doing a lot of content at the moment, as well as the daily life Pilates class, some sort of tips for managing your nutrition and things like that. If you have any requests for that or any requests for the podcast as well, just let us know, because we're at your service on the end of an internet connection. So yeah. Take care, guys, and
we'll see you
be
tomorrow
back
morning for Pilates at 9.
With Pilates at 9.